Okay, so a bit smaller, a bit more. I wasn't going to say it. So my name is Brad Nicholls. John, we're from NIDAC. The N in NIDAC is for Nicholls. So NIDAC is a family business. We've been in Melbourne since 1966, and without giving away too much, that's the year I was born. So 58 years in Melbourne, in Burwood. Nicholls Industrial Design and Applications Company. That's the sort of what it means. So our founder, my father David, he came from New Zealand to Melbourne. I think basically they said to him in New Zealand, to get the education that you need to do what you want to do, you're not going to get it here. So go to Melbourne, go to RMIT. He joined his brother over here in, would have been the 1950s at some point, and went to RMIT and did an electronics engineering course there, and set up the business in Burwood with another family sort of friend who'd been a family friend up until when Dad passed away, Don Barrett, and then he went out on his own. So we started making just simple doorway beams that go across your shop front door. Someone walks through the door and it sets off a buzzer out the back of the shop. But believe it or not, back in those times, that was revolutionary. You know, I mean, there was just no security industry in Australia, or really pretty much in the world anywhere. It was all, you know, the electronics industry was just starting to take off with transistors, and they wouldn't have even had, you know, microchips or anything back then. Everything was transistorized, all discrete components, which again, it's just so far removed from where we are today, with everything being service mount and, you know, about as big as a grain of sand, some of these components now. So that was where we started back in the day. Discrete components, everything was done by hand. Circuit boards were all designed by hand. We started off making the doorway beams, as I said, and then moved into you know, more sophisticated security type technologies. The first company in Australia to manufacture an alarm panel. We had the SPR1 and the SPR3, which were like a 3-zone alarm panel. Moved up into a bigger 8-zone alarm panel. We manufactured radar detectors, which were sort of like forerunner to the passive infrared type sensors that we have now. So like a radar motion sensor, working on like a Doppler shift type thing. Auto dialers or phone dialers, so connecting up to your PSTN line to dial out if there's an alarm or whatnot. Ring your telephone. Again, back then it was really early days with control rooms and stuff like that. There weren't really alarm control rooms like we now know, back in the sort of, you know, early 70s and so forth. And we've sort of moved now away from the alarms and things. We still manufacture the auto dialers, but now moving more towards access control. Which is it's a really big area, access control and automation, and integrating with automation, integrations with, you know, CCTV and that sort of stuff. Everything's sort of moving into a singular platform. It's kind of a unique aspect of the market in Australia and New Zealand. America, Europe, they still have separate alarm access control systems. Whereas in Australia, with TCOM back in the 80s, they sort of pioneered that single platform of alarm and access control integration. As I said, it's pretty uniquely Australia and New Zealand. That's our market. So we're sort of heading towards that as well, moving back towards, you know, down the track with integration, alarm access control. But this is where we are at the moment. So we've got 4 different brands of product. There's the Prove, which are peripherals. So peripherals we classify as the keypads and card readers, fobs, tags and so forth that go along with those. Presco brand, which the Presco brand actually has been around since the 1990s. We've moved some of the products from Presco into Prove. So the Presco brand are the small access control systems and some of the little bits and bobs that go along with that. So the actual control part of the access control. So the Prove are the peripheral part, the readers, the Presco is the actual module or the controller. The Prescient brand, that's the newest brand of the lot. The Prescient have been on the market for a few years now, went through a long beta period, and now it's been commercially available for sort of 2+ years. The Prescient is a large scale access control. It's a 4-door controller, and you can have multiple 4-door controllers on a network. They're all through IP. So you plug them all into your switch. It's a mesh network, so every controller talks to every other controller on the network. So each controller will back up all the other controllers. So if one controller goes offline, you've got a backup in the system through another control. That's assuming you have more than one controller though, of course. If you've only got one controller, you have to do backups separately. So I guess the difference with the Prescient from other types of systems is that a lot of the other bigger commercial type systems are a single box that has all the peripheral devices hanging off, or on a peripheral bus. So you have I/O expanders and so forth. So you have your main controller, all your extra bits hanging off. If you have another controller over here, these two controllers don't talk to each other, okay? The Prescient's different. Every controller talks to every controller on the network, and that means that we can do a lot of stuff that a lot of people can't do. So large scale access control, now with lift integration as well, so we can do floor control. We've got an API interface for that and doing all sorts of other stuff, but there's a huge, all our development at the moment, a lot of the development at the moment is in the Prescient. That's sort of really where the market is going with, you know, integrations, large scale systems. Also, of course, applicable to smaller systems as well. We're doing, you know, a lot of homes with, you know, intelligent sort of access control as well. A lot of people are demanding that now as well, in sort of higher end residences. And the Forge brand, which are industrial dialers. So again, we sort of started making dialers back in the 70s, so we've got a lot of history and whatnot with dialers. The Forge dialers are 4G dialer, also backwards compatible with 3G and 2G. We're exporting them overseas in countries where they still operate on, believe it or not, on 2G networks. So it's compatible with all the old 2G, 3G networks. That's a SIM-based technology, and it will send out SMS messages. You can program in voice messages as well. You know, you can shut it down through your telephone and so forth. A lot of applications for remote sites where they have pumps or what bits of basically any kind of equipment that needs to be monitored. So there's inputs and outputs on that. And then there's a couple of, in the Forge range as well, timer modules and relay modules and stuff that are sort of really handy for the technicians just to have in their kit bag. You just never know when you're going to need a relay. So we'll look at each of those a bit more in depth. So Prove, the Prove range of keypads and readers, they originally started as the Presco. So Presco originally was designed for alarm function. So back in the day, alarm panels had like a key switch input. So people literally used a key switch to turn their alarm on and off. That's why it was called a key switch input. So it's just a normally open, closed contact. Some people started bringing, you know, some cheapy sort of keypads from God knows where. They were super unreliable. They were terrible. Pretty much we'd get, back in the day, for every 2 we sold, we'd get 1 back, you know. Manufacturing technology is way better now than what it used to be. Back in the day, you know, I mean, it was just a miracle that you could even get some of this stuff to work. But so David saw that, you know, there was these products were unreliable, and we set about designing our own product. So to replace those shonky products from God knows where. So the Presco system originally was a 2-part system. There's the module and the keypad. So it's inherently more secure as well than just a keypad that's got a relay stuck on the back of it. So the relay or the control part would be in a secure location, like in your alarm panel. It was just really basic. Put in a code, triggers a relay, and the relay simulates that key switch input. So put your code in the first time, it would latch. Second time, you know, reverse the operation. So turning your alarm on and off. We then recognised that there was a market for access control. Okay, so the Presco then we developed another model called the PDA, which was Presco Door Access. So it was a single door controller. So again, the same sort of philosophy of a split system, keypad and a remote controller for it. You could put it up in the, you know, up in the ceiling, or, you know, some secure environment. And that has just sort of over the years kept developing into the PAC series, the Presco Access Control series, which are a little bit more sophisticated and more focused on access control. Until now, we've got the, you know, the Prescient, which is the full-on sort of, you know, intelligent access control system. So the Prove is for the readers. We've got a couple of different readers here. So the PSK2 is a Presco only reader. So this is a reader, and you can use it on the Presco system. So what's unique about the Presco system is it's a 2-wire system. The keypads will work on 2 wires only. So if you had to replace a doorbell, you know, someone's got an old 2-wire doorbell, you can replace it with a keypad. It works, the data transmission and the power is all just done on 2 wires. So we had patents for that. Patents have run out by now, but we still use that technology because it has some inherent advantages. One is that it's immune to RF, and another is that it will go up to 1 kilometre, sort of like a RS485 type, you know, serial thing, although it's not. But yeah, so it's good for 1 kilometre and immune to RF. So we have the one that's just uniquely Presco. We have the PSC2, which is the Presco and also Wiegand, so it's compatible with other access control systems. So Wiegand is just another data format. Wiegand has limitations in that it is susceptible to RF noise. So if you run a cable alongside a 240 volt cable, the recommended cable for Wiegand is a shielded cable for that reason, to try and clear out that, you know, cope with any noise that you might, induced noise that you might get. And also it has a distance limitation as well. It's sort of maybe 100, 120 metres. So, although in most applications, realistically, that's kind of okay. You know, you're not going to generally do cable runs that are going to be more than 100 metres. So, because you have the same limitation, of course, with, you know, your Cat6 cables and stuff. They're only good for 97 metres or whatever. And then there's a PSR reader, which is just the reader on its own, no keypad. It's just, this is the same. It's a Wiegand one, so it's with Wiegand you have to have up to 4 wires, ideally 5. So you have power and a separate pair for data. Okay, so that's where it differs from the Presco format. We do power and data on 2 wires. The Wiegand format is a minimum of 4 wires. If you want LED control, you need a 5th wire for it. So generally most technicians would run a 6-core cable for a WeGAN system, 6-core screen cable. Okay, so we've got also just step back a bit. We've got our own range of cards and fobs and stuff as well, of course. So we'll talk about them a little bit more in a tick. So now we've got a new, and we'll have to be very delicate with this. So these are just being released probably in a few weeks or so. These are sort of early samples of the new range of Prove readers. They are backlit. These are EM format, or the 125 kilohertz format, EM or HID, low frequency, and also MyFair format, which is a high frequency, so the same as what the banks use on their cards and Mikey cards. It's the same sort of technology. So this is a dual format reader. It will do the low frequency and the high frequency. It's backlit as well. It's a solid construction, so it's a polycarbonate shell. It's a two-piece, so there's a backing plate. You can mount the backing plate and then mount the reader. It hinges at the top, so it's easy installation. Hinges at the top and screws at the bottom to secure it. A lot of sort of planning and thought has gone into the design of the new readers. So there's a 6x2 format, or architrave, mullion, whatever you'd like to call it. 6x2 and a 3x4 version. And in a few months' time there'll be a 6x2 or that architrave type reader only version. Okay, so these ones at the moment will be keypad and dual frequency proximity. So when we've designed the product, it's designed to be deconstructible. So the whole, at the end of life, the whole keypad can be recycled. Okay, so a lot of readers are, they're potted, which means they can't be recycled. They have to go into landfill. Whereas these can be fully pulled apart, all the circuit boards, all the internals can be separated and recycled accordingly. The cable on the back of it just clips in and out. So for servicing, particularly, if your reader dies or someone smashes it or whatever, I don't know, whatever reason, the keypad can come apart, so you don't have to undo all your solder joints. Unplug, plug in a new keypad, new reader, and away you go. You're back in service. Okay. Okay, so IP67, the bigger one obviously is a GPO size, although it's doesn't conform strictly to that square or the rectangular GPO size. The LEDs in these are a 3-colour LED, so they'll be configurable. You can have different colour sort of, combinations or whatever. There is a light pipe that runs down the side as well that lights up separately, so you can have different colour indications for access granted, access denied, for just illumination at night time. These readers, they are dual format, so they do Presco and WeGAN. It's auto detecting, so if it's connected to one of our systems, it'll know exactly what it's meant to be. It's either meant to be a Presco or a WeGAN reader. 9 to 28 volts DC, so normally, obviously, they'll be connected to either a 12 or a 24 volt system. And reverse voltage protection as well, so if you wire it up the wrong way, you're not going to blow it to bits. Okay, so these have advanced tamper technology built into them. There's no physical tamper button. It's done through what's called an accelerometer, which all the modern mobile phones and so forth have now as well. It's like a man down sort of thing. They know what direction they are. So down the track, you'll be able to install this, have an app, and it will tell you if it's not straight, basically. And as part of the tamper technology, if it's removed from a wall, it'll know automatically. it'll know if someone even just moves it a little bit, as if they're trying to tamper with it. You don't even successfully have to take it off the wall. Even if you just move it, you'll get a tamper alarm. Okay, so these are new and fantastic. So, okay, here we go. Next, indoor keypads and readers, common applications. So a lot of these, particularly these style of readers, are used in nursing homes because they can be cleaned. Okay, they can wipe them down with their, isopropyl alcohol or whatever they use to clean surfaces. And homes, more and more we're seeing people using access control in their homes for, front door to let the cleaner in, that sort of stuff. Access control still is a relatively, expensive sort of setup compared to, cameras nowadays. Cameras used to be, you only used to see them in banks or, big commercial buildings, but nowadays, everyone's putting cameras in their home because the technology has just become so cheap. Access control is probably still a bit more on the, you wouldn't put access control into every home because there is a lot of labour involved with it. You've got to have a door strike. You might need to modify door furniture. You've got a keypad. You've got a separate controller. So, but more and more into high-end homes, we're seeing it sort of, on a daily basis now. People are asking for access control for convenience, really. Staff entry, of course, on small offices and so forth, rather than handing out keys to people. With the more intelligent access control systems, you can restrict time of day. So, if people have got a code, they can sort of get in maybe only between 9 and 5 when their work hours are. Secure rooms like storerooms, computer rooms. A lot of access control goes onto computer rooms or restricted areas, chemical stores, that sort of thing. Auto door control, on office buildings, that sort of stuff. So what do we got next? Cards and fobs. So yeah, we've got a heap of different, we've got these are called a clamshell card. So they've got the slot in them for a lanyard, for, ID. There's the ISO style cards, which are a printable card. That's like your credit card type thickness ones. They're a printable card. These aren't printable, or not. You can't run them through a mass type printer. So there's the ISO ones. They don't have the slot in them, but you can get a machine that will punch a hole in it. It's the technology in the card is exactly the same no matter what style of credential you have. It's just a little tiny chip and a coil. Obviously, if you've got a bigger card, it's got a bigger coil, so effectively the read range will be a bit bigger, but in reality, most people will, bang it on the reader anyway. So, most people don't sort of stand there and, guide it into. We've got wristbands and whatnot that people use in, gymnasiums, swimming facilities and so forth as well. And all of the new credentials are in the dual format, so they're in the EM format, the 125 kilohertz and the MyFair format as well. And we can do them in sort of custom formats. We can do them in HID and whatnot. Okay, Presco. So the Presco is where all this sort of stuff started as Presco brand. So as I said, we started with the PDA, and that's over the years now. This is the third generation of the Pack 1, and there's a Pack 2. So Pack is for Presco Access Control, 1 and 2 door. So these are like just a basic, well, not basic, but if you've got a card or a code or whatever, you get in no matter what. There's no time restrictions or anything like that, no public holidays. The only way to disable it really is to, turn the power off or something. Within the Pack 1 and the Pack 2, there's no audit trail. Again, it's basically if you've got a code, you get in, no one knows if you're coming in or out. So on on the terminals on here, we've got power, we've got the LED control for your keypad or your card reader, the door control, so we've only got 2 terminals, so the normally open or normally closed is programmable. So if you've got a fail safe lock or a fail secure lock, you just set it up through programming. There's an input for if you've got a reed switch in the door, so if the door's forced open or a door open too long, and also an input for egress, so you press to exit button. So I mean, really the only difference between a pack 1 and a pack 2 is one's a single door, one's a 2-door. So with this generation, you can do bulk adding, so you don't have to program every card in, separate. With the older versions, you had to type in a user number, program card, type a user number. So now with the newer ones, you can just do a bulk add, so you can just badge all your cards in one at a, open up the memory, badge all your cards in, and away you go. So split system for maximum security, so the lock control is removed from the door. Look, there's a market for people who just want a cheapy solution where it's just an all-in-one. Security is not really the focus, it's more about the convenience of just having a keypad or a card reader rather than giving people keys. So these are really designed for the next step above that real basic sort of system, so where you have at least some security. Now, if you do want some event logging and also to be able to program through a PC, there's the PEL1, Presco Event Logger, which took over. We used to have a product called a data logger, which had an LCD screen on it and a serial connection. So now it's just the PEL1 that's taken its place, and that's got a USB connection to your computer so you can program it. That will store all the events, 5,000 events with time and date. So that will give you at least some kind of record of who's going in and out your door. Up to 8 Presco pack controllers, so if it's a pack 2, that'll give you 16 doors. It's all done through software. Your computer doesn't have to be connected to it for it to work. You connect your computer for programming, you can walk away, and all your events are stored in the PEL1. So next time you plug in, it will upload everything to your computer. Okay, so remote gate connection. We use a lot for just apartment block gates, that sort of thing. It's a really good solution because they don't. Everything's self-contained out in the field. Okay, obviously the gate's going to be separated from the main building, so it's not convenient to run cables and stuff. So out where your gate motor is, you put in your Presco out at your gate motor. Security doors, of course. Internal doors for hospitals, a lot go in hospitals, health sort of facilities. Again, a lot in kindergartens as well, those sorts of places, because it's not sort of like a super high security type environment. It's more of a convenience for the parents and whatnot. Access control, ease of installation. Yeah, I mean, it's just a 2-wire system, as I said, so you can use it to replace old. If you've got old wiring there, you can usually take advantage of that. Okay. PEL pack. Oh, okay. So it's just a basic wiring configuration. We didn't bring one of the PELs, but yeah, it's a pretty simple wiring configuration. Connect USB to the computer. Free software. Okay. Next. That's just a screenshot of your doors, of some of the basic sort of setup, just to give you an idea of what you'd see on your computer screen. Next. Okay, simple, easy to wire, 1-2 door access control, 2-part system. So all of our gear is, all the final assembly and testing's done in Melbourne, in Burwood. All the circuit board manufacturing interstate, some's done in Victoria as well. So we do all the circuit boards are all loaded here. All the R&D's done here in Melbourne as well. So when we assemble them, we test every single unit, so we know when it goes out the door that it'll be working when it gets out into the field. So because of that sort of rigorous testing and manufacturing procedure, we can give a 5-year warranty. Every unit factory tested, backwards compatibility. So if you've got one of the old PRE type keypads, ones with sort of the bluey grey face on them, if one of them dies, you can replace it with a newer keypad. There's no compatibility issues. Likewise, if your old PDA controller dies, you can replace it with a new Pack 1. Again, no compatibility issues. Everything's sort of compatible through the generations. Okay. Presco interface module. So the Presco interface module is a pretty nifty little unit. It's a data converter. So because of the inherent issues that I spoke about earlier with WGAN formats, with noise, short cable runs, the Presco interface module can be used to convert data from WGAN, for example, also 4 or 5 other formats, RS-232, clock and data formats, to Presco. And then at the other end, you can convert it from the Presco format back to your WGAN format, for example. That's not the only application. There are many more. So in a lift shaft, if you've got an old lift shaft, they have a lot of noise in the lift shaft. You can put a PIM where your card reader is in the lift and convert it to the Presco format, which is immune to the induced noise. At the top of the lift shaft, you can put another PIM where your access control panel is and convert it from Presco back to the WGAN, which will then, your access control system will be able to work with. So you cut out all that noise. Also over long ranges, if you, for some reason, you want to have cables over a long range, serial data only goes sort of 15, 20 metres or something. If you need to go further than that, you can convert it with this to have for longer cable runs. So yeah, that's a really, really handy little product. Convert WGAN to Presco for long cable runs. WGAN, yep. Well, another thing that it does also actually is you can, with the WGAN format, there's 2 numbers in a WGAN card. They have a site code, which is fixed, and then they have a card number, which varies between cards. So with the PIM, if you've got, say if you've got cards with a range of different site codes, you can use the PIM to put every card onto the same site code. So some access control systems will only, like a TCOM system, you can only have, I think, 2 site codes. So if you, for some reason, you've got cards on sort of 4 or 5 different site codes, you can just have all the cards on one site code through a PIM. So it will make it compatible with some other access control systems that have that limitation. Again, there's software available for that, so you can put it on your computer to do all the setup sort of stuff. And yeah, that photo there is probably, well, not probably, it is out of date. That's got a serial connector on it. This has now got, USB-C connector on it. So just USB-C, plug it into your computer, away you go. Mag locks and strikes. So we have the GEM or Gianni mag locks and door strikes, which I think you guys stock a little bit of that here. So there's the ES GK700, which is a replacement for the Paddy type ES 200s, 2000s. The MLG6 is an outdoor gate lock, so there's the 600-pound version and the bigger 1,200-pound version. So, down the beach, whatever, where it's a harsh environment, or outdoors for a gate on into your front gate or whatever, where you need something that's weatherproof. And the ML12, there's a 600-pound version and a 1,200-pound version for your internal doors and your perimeter doors. Okay, so Forge. Okay, so in the Forge range, we've got the CT1 timer, which is a little timer module. Again, some of these things are just really handy to have in your kit bag. You know, you just never know when you're going to need a timer. These are trigger input, so they can be, you can set up different timing functions, 1 second, 10 seconds, you know, minutes, hours, and a different sort of operation. So it can be just like a level trigger or an edge, or you can have a toggle operation. So you might need a timer, for example, at a door. If someone's installed a door with a push button, but the push button just goes straight to the lock, so the door will only unlock while you're holding the push button. So you can't, you know, if the door's a couple of meters away, you know, so you can put a timer in and use that to time the output for your door strike. Okay, so again, really handy. The relays, they come in a strip of 3 or a strip of 6. They have a common power rail. Again, these are like a trigger type. So you give it a normally closed or a normally closed input. So normally open or normally closed input. When the input changes, the relay turns on or off. These are, so they've got a common power rail. There's a little link on there. So if you want to put the positive onto the common of the relay, so you don't have to wire from the positive terminal to the common of the relay. So it can either be a dry relay or a wet relay. These are really handy in situations if you need, say, a dry contact, for example, but you've got some stray voltage. You might have a couple of volts stray voltage on your cable. You can just use a little relay module to clean it up and give you a dry contact output. Again, like every technician should have a bunch of relays in their bag. You know, it's not the sort of thing you want to be on a job and you need and you don't have. It's such a simple sort of thing. Also in the Forge range are the auto dialers. So again, this is just building on decades of sort of experience in manufacturing dialers. We use a lot of these for remote mining, farming sort of thing, where they have to monitor, you know, floats, you know, pumps, that sort of stuff. They have multiple inputs, so 8 configurable inputs. So you can obviously monitor multiple devices at once. 2 outputs, so they're a dry contact output, 1 amp, 30 volts, so you can turn stuff on and off remotely if you need to do that. 99 numbers, 16 per input, which is generally plenty. Normally people have 1 or 2 numbers, so it can send voice or SMS, so it's all programmable through your laptop. And there's a couple of different models. There's the one on the left is without a power supply, it's just the unit itself, and the one on the right comes in a bigger enclosure with a power supply. It's a 1.5 amp power supply and a battery backup. Programmable through your computer. Compatible with all 3G and 4G bands in Australia, so obviously 3G is dropping out soon. 4G, and we're using them overseas where they still just have a 2G network. So backwards compatible with all those bands. GSM voice and SMS auto dialer. Okay, basically equipment monitoring, agricultural, you know, farming machinery, mining, overseas in remote areas where they still have, you know, older sort of phone networks. Fire panels, obviously a big one as well. Okay, a couple of use cases. A client in wastewater has a requirement for 20 inputs, so they use multiple dialers to get their 20 inputs. Right, okay. Using a dialer as general notification or alarm tool to supplement existing access control to notify staff of sensitive doors being left open. So again, it's just you're triggering an input and it's going to let someone know that something's happened. It might be in a sort of situation where it's not practical for them to have some other kind of communication path. Okay. So that is, I think that's basically it. There's a couple of other things that sort of really weren't on there so much. We've got these, the metal keypads as well. We've had these now for 20 plus years, and there's still a huge demand for them. These are, you know, a much more rugged type keypad. These are only on the Presco format. It's a 4-wire one. But a lot of, you know, like front gates for, you know, your auto gate entry, where they're going to be susceptible to, you know, people wandering by and deciding they want to give it a whack or something, you know. So they're available with a surface mount that peels off, and it's a stainless steel, so it can be surface mounted. Flush mounted, and the surface mount. So just a surface mount that sort of displaces the backing box. Again, you know, like on your brick pillars or whatnot, if it's not practical to have a big hole in your bricks. And yeah, the other key one really is the high level access control. So yeah, that's yeah. Well, yeah. So the Prescient's now been out for a few years. So yeah, the development on that's sort of really going ahead at 100 mile an hour. So that's yeah, pretty much it, I think. So questions? Come on.
What sort of, is it weather resistant, the PRE, is it also...
Which one?
IPRE, the two.
The new ones?
Yeah, are they...
These?
No, yeah, all, even the previous.
Okay, so these ones will be IP67.
Okay.
Yeah. These ones, obviously, these are like totally weatherproof. These ones not recommended for outdoor. Okay. Like if they're under an eave or something, where they're not going to get direct, you know, rain, they'll be fine. Like a lot of them go outside. People, you tell them, nah, not really, but they'll put them outside.
Okay, so they're not outdoor.
They're not rated as outdoor, yeah, but I mean you see a surprising number of them are outdoors. As I said, like if there's an eave or something where they get at least some weather protection, yeah, they'll be fine for.
Plastic covers.
Yes, yeah, you can get. I think we actually have some as well, like a little shroud sort of thing.
So they're okay in that application?
Yeah, yeah, not recommended, but what can you do?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. There you go. So that's the NIDAC story up until now. That's where we are today.